Welcome to Travel Foodie Reviews and my ongoing journey of starting up my own lemonade concession stand business or lemonade shaker business, however you want to call it. Yeah, here's a logo, first draft design logo for the artwork for essentially will probably be on my lemonade stand tent canopy top. So yeah, comment down below what you guys think of the design. If I should change anything up, change colors around. Some have already suggested that I put like a lemonade in my hand and whatnot. So yeah, I'll be working on probably on version 2.0 with a lemonade shaker in my hand. So we'll see. Um, yeah. So let's get on to it. For me to conduct my business here, at least in my county, I'm going to need what they call as a temporary health permit um, to conduct business in each venue that I go to. Um, and unfortunately, the way my understanding is, and I could be wrong, but for each venue, it's a cost of about $125. So I got to weigh my options and seeing if I can how feasible I can try to make this and what it's going to take for me to not lose money and whatnot. So obviously, I'm scouting out different farmers markets, but there's no guarantee that a farmers market is going to make it or break it, so to speak. But it all depends, I guess, on the location and how popular it is and the time of the year too. Um, but other avenues also are festivals like art and wine festivals, potentially county fairs. Um, those are some options. And even though there's a county or an art and wine festival in a nearby town that's happening this year in September, or actually, it's actually happening this week. Um, but I went and pulled up their application form for vendors to see what it would take for possibly me participating next year. And we'll go over some of the stuff that are on this form, and then I'll show you a breakdown, a spreadsheet breakdown of potentially what I believe I would need to generate to make that make to be successful for that venue event. So let's get into that. Let me pull up the application here. And this is at the Mountain View Art and Wine Festival food vendor application. Here they said, obviously they're already sold out, booked up, so there's no chance of me being able to participate, even if I could pardon of the ways and all the red tape and to make this happen. No, and I'm far from it. But it gives me some idea of thinking about possibly for next year and applying. Um, and here, let's pull up some of the stuff here. What for this particular venue? Um, what they said: vendor fees for a 2-day event. For nonprofits, it's like $800 for early bird special, and then it goes up to $950 after March 6th. For a food cart, the cost is $1,000 early bird or $1,250 after March 6th. Now, general, this is what I believe I would fall under, would be tent or trucks, $1,500 early bird, $1,800 after March 6th. Then, of course, there is the health department fees, which, as I mentioned earlier, $125 there. No idea how much the refundable cleaning deposit is. That's assuming that I don't do a good enough job cleaning up my area where my booth was. Um, so I'm going to speculate at $200. It could be more, could be less, but general purposes, that's what it's going to be. Obviously, for food booths, they asked that it be a 10 by 10 or 10 by 20. and they say all food vendors are required to use food booths that are compliant with the county's health department and fire department. Basically, meaning for the county, they have requirements. Um, what needs? I have actually a form here. Let me pause this video for a second, and I'll find you the document I can show you. All right, in my county, they have a thing. They go requirements for temporary food facilities at temporary events and certified farmers markets. And essentially, this is what the form looks like and whatnot. And it breaks it down into various sections, from the hand washing sinks to utensil washing stations, food preparation stations, food temperatures, employee and habits and such. And then it talks about open air barbecue requirements, waste disposal, toilet facilities, and additional requirements. But generally, that's that. So basically, for my county, essentially, tent's got to be fire retardant of some sort. In my county, I have to have basically a 16 mesh sidewall screens throughout the whole booth with openings for serving windows, between like 16 to 18 inches apart from each other. So there's those aspects. So we have that aspect and whatnot. And then obviously they talk about no electricity. And then you may need permits or whatnot, and fire extinguishers if you're going to have a generator, a certain class fire extinguisher. So there's some probably cost in that if I had a generator, for whatnot. And then obviously they want you to have a resale permit. Okay. And obviously, like any other business, it's basically a general liability blanket coverage. They want a certificate of insurance, essentially, the event organizers from my insurance company, stating that I have enough insurance. And in this case, this particular venue is asking for a $2 million limit per occurrence aggregate, and naming the city of and their chamber of commerce as additional insurers. It's basically protection. Used to see this all the time in another life when I was in procurement for a corporation. Whenever we would have vendors doing contract work or repairs or construction work type at a facility, we'd always ask the insurance or the event contractors to provide that. It's generally just a phone call away from their to their insurance provider to have them fax over one of these little certificates. I wish I had an example, but you could probably Google it. Certificate of insurance liability, and you should see some examples of that and whatnot, and plus all the other things. Now I'm going to bring up what my cost breakdown, what I think it would be for this venue, what I think I would need to break even, how I feel I'd be comfortable with for my time and effort, and expenses, so to speak. Okay, here's a spreadsheet formula I broke down. Obviously, I broke down my cost to make each individual 32-ounce drink. Ingredients, the lemons, water, ice, the sugar, non-sugar substitute, whatever it may be, the cup, lid, straws. Figure my cost is about $2. It was actually under $1, but I doubled it to pad it up also to give me also a little leeway if I need to cover payroll, if whom and whoever I hire to help work with the booth event for that weekend would be. Yeah, it's definitely. Then of course we have the health permit fee, which I know is, I stated earlier, $125. business tax, which are essentially business license, assuming since I'm going to be in a different town than I'm normally in, they're going to want, probably most likely going to want me to, get a temporary business license, to conduct business in their town. It may be less. It may be the smart. I'm hedging it at 200. It could probably be less since it's only like a one time a year type event. So it's like a temporary business license type thing. Then of course you have the festival fee, which we had talked earlier about $1,500, and then we had the refundable cleaning deposit that I set at 200. Liability insurance, one policy company that I saw advertising, so I'm using that number. It could be more, it could be less because of where I live. Who knows until I can do that. So you add that all up, it comes out between those expenses. That's $2,326. Obviously, you divide that by 2 days. Cost per day of operation. What the bare minimum based on these calculations I need to run? $1,163. So based on my calculations on these numbers, I would have to figure I need. Let me pause for a second. I'll pull that number up in a second. Okay, here is what I broke it down to. I got it kind of broken down like the number of cases of lemons I use. Obviously, I'm going to be using what is called a 140 count. So meaning about 140 lemons per case. And then suggested price what I'm going to charge per 32 ounce cup is about $9 a cup. So potentially gross profits based there is about $1,260. So it's a little under, or maybe a little over what I had earlier had said. But let's face the fact, we probably definitely need to do more than that. Ideally, what I would like to hit is possibly be able to sell 4 or 5 cases of lemons. So that'd be about equivalent to about 700 drinks a day. To try to generate some profit. And obviously, the more cases I get, the more supplies I'm going to need. And here's the other thing that I didn't know: like on a different festival, the organizers have contracts, or some will negotiate with ice providers or suppliers to supply the whole event to all of the vendors at the event. Like this other town event, they wanted to supply ice of 20-pound bags of ice at $20. Obviously, I can going directly to the vendor themselves. I probably get it cheaper, but for the convenience of being able to say, "Hey, I'm going to need ice, and this is my estimate of what I'm thinking I'm going to need." And, if I run out, call up, and they can have somebody at the ice truck or refrigerator truck bring me out ice to my booth. So, that's something to think about. So yeah, there. Now the question of the day is: do you think $9 is too much to charge based on these numbers here, or should I be charging less or more? The reason why I brought that specific number of $9 up is I saw one vendor who's been doing that festival, a lemonade vendor who's been doing this festival now for 30 plus years, and I was checking out his Instagram, and based on some photos I've seen of what he charges anywhere for the lemonade at $9. Now the question is sizing. I think he was charging. I saw in one photo he was selling like 16-ounce drinks at $4 or so, and maybe a slightly larger, definitely under 32 ounces, definitely not even close to 32 ounces. So that is something to look at. So I'm actually going to do a little recon and try to get an average of seeing what prices people are charging for their lemonades, and go from there. Because a marketing person who I talked to recently said, yeah, try to get at least he told me to record how much business I've done for like at least a 2 to 3 week period, the date and time of the day that I did, to see what kind of numbers, and the better, data dive and see if it's worth it or not, and other aspects. And that comes into play also of knowing your audience. That if I do this event, that how much am I going to spend on advertising? And I didn't even think about that. Online advertising, buying Facebook ads stating that I'm going to be at this festival, and there's a term called geofencing. So meaning I could, at least via Facebook, I can geofence my location or drill it down, or specifically niche it down to, I think, a 100 square yards or 100 square feet or something like that. Usually it's supposed to be 1 mile radius, but you could niche it down even further, I think, is what he was like mentioning. So that could be beneficial to me. It's like, yeah, somebody's walking out of the festival, they see their phone pop up notification, hey, try Gear's Tasty Lemonades. You're, you know, 30 feet away from his booth, and see what happens. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And what do you think, if I'm blowing smoke out of my keister, or you think I'm heading in the right track? I'd like to hear advice, honest opinions from you folks. What do you think on what they've just presented to you guys? So, yeah, thanks, and we'll be seeing you.